Randy,
Hi.
how are you? Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm good. I just got done at the gym, like
Cool.
personal trainer. So yeah.
Well, I'm happy we could line up. Earlier today, I filmed a conversation with, I guess what we would call a prospect. And I
Hmm.
think these types of recordings would be really excellent for anybody like you who's trying to spread the message. So I'm happy to help you
Yeah.
today on episode 12 here, by the way, of Notus and Friends. Um, Happy to help answer some questions for you that you have as you've been out there trying to communicate the message. That is kind of the
Yeah.
background for this conversation. You're one of several people who asked me for that type of advice, and I really want to just start recording these calls because there's nothing
Because
private
we got,
about them, right? So,
yeah, for sure. Yep. And it's just easier to get the word out, and you don't have to, it's not so redundant, right?
so you are a practicing massage therapist with your own practice. So the way that
Yep.
you be trying to communicate a little bit different than most people, having any type of a professional background, having any type of a therapeutic background where people are already coming to you for help with anything gives you an edge to influence them further. This probably could even go as far as like if you're a car mechanic and people are bringing you your car, for some reason they're more likely to take your opinion on other things. Maybe not necessarily with health, but you have one bit of trust. You can leverage that to other advice,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yep. I'm trying to spread the word. Nutrition alone is just like really um, confusing because I know so my first question would be like eggs. Like, as I know, um, viruses do feed off of eggs and dairy. And so, but I also know that the cholesterol in eggs is really good for the nervous system because I think it's 70 or 95% cholesterol is the nervous system, right? So we do actually need the eggs, but I guess maybe if you were trying to get rid of HSV1 or something like that, clean out the liver, that maybe you would take a break from eggs at that point. Is that kind of what you would say?
Well, the call earlier was actually dealing with HSV, so that's good. That's episode 11. Anybody can listen to that. Anybody who would listen to that would notice that we didn't actually tell him really what to eat. We told him what not to eat. In this case, I wanted him to purge carbs completely, if possible, and processed sugar completely. Not there's
Hmm.
no if possible on the processed sugar. That's got to go. I didn't mention eggs though, and actually, for some people with a nervous system problem or something, we do want to encourage them to eat the eggs or some other form of cholesterol. But eggs are just they're the most convenient. They're the most efficient way to get cholesterol in the body. It is 70% of the white matter that is nearly 100% cholesterol. The white matter is the coating, the myelin around every nerve, right? So it's the sheath around the wire.
Mac and cheese, yeah.
Yeah, the wire is the nerve itself, the myelin sheath, the cholesterol sheath is what insulates all that basically. So
Right.
we don't want to
And
outlaw cholesterol.
right.
There,
And it also helps your arteries, right?
yeah.
Repairing arteries.
Well, your body needs the 90 essential nutrients to have healthy arteries, to have healthy circulation, and the omegas particularly are going to have a lot to do with that healthy blood consistency and blood flow. So we're not
Hmm.
outlawing eggs. We obviously have to be aware that there's a lot of information out there getting people scared about eggs. Not just like you're mentioning more medical medium, the Epstein-Barr virus supposedly being
Right.
fed by the eggs. And I'm not saying supposedly as in it doesn't happen. I'm saying supposedly as in it's not our primary concern. We do want to kill the viruses. We want to eliminate the environment that allows viruses to thrive in the body. And that's partially what that conversation was about earlier. And it's interesting that these two things often go together because he came to me with HSV as the primary problem. But
Yeah.
it's the same, all of the same stuff that we would say. Purge out the body, clean up the digestion, get the nutrients in. And if there is people can have an outright problem with eggs. They can say eggs make me sick, eggs make me dizzy, eggs make me nauseous. And
Hmm.
just like a sensitivity to watermelon or banana, by the way, a lot of hype about eggs, way more common for people to come in with food sensitivities having to do with plants. Way more common. And it's
Yeah.
often most of them go away. All food sensitivities, most of them go away once we correct the digestion. So if somebody has
Right.
EBV problems, if somebody has any problems, we don't care that much about the eggs. Again, if you have a nervous system problem, we're going to tell you you need cholesterol to repair the nervous system. Don't know where you're going to get
Right.
it from. Up to you, kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
we're expecting your liver to become healthy in this process, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And a healthy liver is not going to have EBV in it, whether you eat eggs or
Yeah.
not.
Your liver is going to get cleaned out if your digestion's working properly, right? Because then you're absorbing the proper nutrition and your blood is cleaner that way, right?
Yeah, in a healthy condition, the EBV shouldn't live in the virus. Sorry, it shouldn't live in the liver,
Yeah.
regardless of egg intake or not. And obviously, you're in America, you're in Colorado. Food's better in Colorado than in some other states, but generally, the
Yeah.
American food supply kind of sucks. But it's also very variable. You can see in Colorado massive feedlots, and you can also see wonderful open pastures with farmers who care
Yeah.
a ton and they treat their animals well. All that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I tell my clients, like, you should be eating from farmer markets or growing your own food, you know?
Especially with eggs, the quality control,
Yeah.
the quality of an egg can slide so quickly when the chicken's
Mm-hmm.
treated poorly and such. And you can see it, you can taste it, you can feel it. And if anything's out there promoting, a negative internal environment, it's going to be eggs produced by unhealthy chickens.
For sure. Yeah. The yellow yolk.
So
Yeah.
one of the things, and you bringing this up, is that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
encounter people who are going to be hostile to specific parts of our message for one reason or another, possibly because this egg one particularly is being promoted with a lot of heart and soul, and it's really hard not to believe and love Anthony Williams, the medical medium, and others, who are wholeheartedly against the eggs, but when it comes to us and when it comes to getting caught in arguments, our business is to help people, and that's the bottom line. And for you to orient your speech to, as soon as you hear any objection to one of the food things, because to us
Mm-hmm.
this is objective, right? We don't care. I don't care, right? What somebody thinks about eggs or bread, I don't care. But they come to us for results, right? So
Yeah.
as soon as there's any kind of hostility, I circle back to that. Hold on, why are we in the conversation? If we're in this
Yeah.
conversation because I just approached them and I said, hey, you could get better if you change the way that you eat, including eating eggs. And they go, whoa, I don't eat eggs. This is
Yeah.
really not a good situation. You didn't encounter any leverage. They didn't come to you. But if they came to you at all with anything, I don't take hostility. I don't react to it with hostility. Can't. I know that
Yeah.
I can't do anything with that. They can't do anything with my hostility in return. We don't have to agree, you know. But if they want to get better, they need to know, number one, our advice is what it is. You take it or leave it. But also, eggs aren't the most important part of it. We are actually selling the 90 essential nutrients. We're not selling eggs. And to,
Right.
to me, working with enough civilians, I know that most of them don't quit the foods, right? Most of them don't quit the pop. Most of them don't quit cigarettes. Most of them don't quit their pharmaceutical drugs. So
Mm-hmm.
how are we still getting results? It's because none of these one thing is a magic bullet. Some people completely change their life just by going gluten-free. More often, you're going to feel better and still have issues, aches, pains, right? Immune problems, bone
Yeah.
problems, whatever. You're going to feel better, but it's not going to take you all the way. This is why we overstep in our value proposition, because we deliver more of the lifestyle information. People can be
Yeah.
against eggs, truthfully, and this is kind of the point of it too. If they want to continue and not take one of the parts of the advice, that's totally fine. We're still going to help them, right? And
Yeah.
it gives us the opportunity to help them later. And if we get caught in an argument about eggs, it's counterproductive. To me, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, my belief is that you're going to do better with eggs. If you don't eat them,
So why would you say, what would you say to somebody that said they're full of pathogens and viruses and they're carrying all that,
we
you
want them to
know?
kill all that.
So, and the way we do that is with the 90 essential nutrients.
Actually, no, we do it with a combination. And the 90 has actually very little with this. What the
Okay.
90
So
does,
would it be the mineral salts that level out your hydrochloric acid to help break down all that stuff?
partially, if you have a stomach acid problem, that's going to be a major problem anyways. You're not going to be running properly no matter what. And running
So is
properly,
that,
go ahead.
do you start with people with like 16 ounces of water with 3 tablespoons of pink Himalayan salt to just start getting that all leveled out right away?
I do that. That's called the salt flush. That's part
Yeah.
of this. That's our immediate protocol is to reset the internal environment, fix any
Yeah.
problem that there is. So if
Yeah.
somebody has EBV, I just want to finish that thought. If somebody has
Okay.
Epstein-Barr virus or another liver virus, the health of the liver is hugely dependent on minerals. Yes, especially selenium, etc. So yes, getting the 90 essential nutrients gives you what you need to have a healthy liver, and
Yeah.
that should not allow liver viruses to thrive in that environment. But all the rest of them,
So it doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah.
all the rest of them, it's a combined approach. Fasting is going to have a tremendous amount of results. It might not take you all the way. I know it used to more consistently, and I do still hear things about how people fasted and got rid of fungus and candida and da-da-da. And this is taking fasting seriously over a long period of time. Maybe extended fast, maybe back-to-back fast for an extended period of time. Either way, drastically reducing the overall calories, eliminating the carbs if possible, eliminating the sugar, and
the gluten.
Well, gluten's part of that. If you're getting rid of carbs and sugar, you have to get rid of gluten. And the guy on the call earlier, I told him to get rid of rice too. That would be the fungus diet, and that's the parasite diet to me. Is purge it out. Use diatomaceous earth because it's the cheapest thing that you can add in to bulldoze out the intestines and start killing parasites. And
no rice because of fungus.
Yeah, if you have fungus, I would say purge carbs as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Like carb free if you can, processed sugar free completely. Diatomaceous earth, I would do that again no matter what. Diatomaceous earth should be in every house anyways. If you ever feel yourself catching a little sniffle, or maybe you picked up something in food you don't feel too good, diatomaceous earth, it's my go-to. It's so cheap, it lasts forever. You keep it in the house. Even if you got ants coming in the house or something, you sprinkle someone where they're coming in, they won't come in anymore. It's very anti-bug, right? And anti-internal bug as well. Colloidal silver is one of those things that can be added just automatically as an immune support.
Yeah, I love that.
Boosting zinc through the roof. Boosting zinc through the roof is a good idea. For perspective, generally, Ben recommends about 50 milligrams of zinc per day, which is kind of high actually. And so it can be a little bit tough to get that out. And if you wanted to boost to that level, you'd probably need to buy it generically anyway. That's what I told the guy earlier. Buy some zinc picolinate generically. But Dr. Wallach for the herpes protocol recommended 75 milligrams 3 times a day. Right, so that's significantly more than the 50, which is even up there. So I'm saying this because you can pull a couple nutrients out and really just crank them to the max. For instance, with any of these viral bacterial problems, the vitamin C dosage is to bowel tolerance. So that means literally as much as your body can actually handle before it dumps it. So these are antioxidants too, right? Vitamin C, zinc, vitamin E could be as well, but it's C and zinc that were pulled out here. These are antioxidants, and they can be boosted through the roof aside from the 90 essential nutrients, although those are both part of it.
Okay.
The rest, by the way, is the herbal assault. There's real antibiotics that can be used in some cases if we really need them, and there's natural antibiotics, all kinds of them. It's through this combination that we increase the chances of killing fungus, mold, right? People come in with these things. I know from hair analysis that you are right. You should be worried about parasites. This is why people are worried about it, because it's rampant, and it's probably a 99% chance that if you did a hair analysis right now, it'll tell you that you have some sort of yeast, worms, mold, parasites, fungus, something inside of you, virus.
For sure. But yeah, your body can fight all of these things as long as it's fueled properly. So back to the eggs, though, I have a question. Does that help your, oops, sorry, let's mute this thing. Does that help your, for guys, like your testosterone level?
Yes.
Yeah.
Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, adrenaline are all made of cholesterol, largely, primarily. Yeah.
Okay. So how many eggs do you recommend eating a day? Because I know it's like a lot of like bodybuilders that I work with, they always ask me that, and I'm like, just, eat a healthy amount, like eat them with your breakfast or whatever. But
that's more or less correct. There's not a like you need to take 5 eggs a day kind of thing. Dr. Wallach's recommendation has changed. It is more or less just kind of getting them in the body. Dr. Wallach often says 6 to 10, but yeah, he's changed it over time. There's people on record who have eaten, there's at least one famous case where the man ate 25 eggs a day and he was shown to have healthy cholesterol. So we don't know what the upper limit is. Just better just to get eggs in. It's also better if you give them a solid number. That's kind of why, like, the number has changed, but it's still good to give them a solid number, even if you're kind of just pulling it out of a hat. It just makes them feel more confident if we say eat eggs, 8 eggs a day. Sometimes, by the way, I'll tell them more because I know they're not going to go for that. I know if I tell them 6, they're going to do 2. This isn't always true. You kind of got to know who you're dealing with, but some people will do exactly what you say, and you can feel that. You look them in the eyes and say, look, Randy, I'm going to do whatever you tell me. You tell me to eat 4 eggs a day, I'm going to eat exactly 4 eggs a day. Those people, just tell them 4 to 10, tell them 6 to 10. If they got a nervous system problem, that's where you want to be hard on it, right? If they have a nervous system problem, any nervous system problem, and this is not that eggs are not the solution to MS or ALS or whatever, Parkinson's, Huntington's, but it's part of it. It's part of it. We want to give the body enough cholesterol to rebuild that stuff. With the sex problems, like you're saying, the hormone problems, menstrual problems, PMS problems, going to have something to do with cholesterol and the other good fats. Good fats is a shorthand for the omegas, especially omega-3, the biggest, most important one of that group, and the cholesterols. By the way, it's probably not more important per se, but it's more important because we're lacking omega-3 more than we are the 6 and the 9 in the food supply. And we're lacking omega-3 more than we're lacking cholesterol even. In this group is also the good fats. The fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin D, E, A, and K, DEEK.
Yeah. Okay. Lacking more 3 than, okay.
And that doesn't mean that every male problem, by the way, that it's going to be caused by cholesterol deficiency only. Right? And it doesn't mean that they're not eating eggs. It could mean they're not absorbing it. It could mean that they're low in other cofactors. Zinc could be one of those, by the way. So it could be a circulation problem. It could be a vascular problem. That's going to be caused by bad food and nutrient deficiencies. This is why we're always just going to default to our basic protocol. It's just good to go into detail about this because if you do have anyone with any one of these specific problems, you just need to know, and they need to know, that none of the things that we're talking about is the magic bullet. So that's why I'm like, I don't really care about the eggs that much, because whether you do it or not, I'm checking enough of the boxes anyway. So I'm expecting improvement. If you want to improve further, if you need some more results and trust first, let's just move down that direction rather than fight about eggs kind of thing. Plenty of people have just for whatever reason said, I'm going to stay vegan, but I'll take these nutrients. Either way, they're going to improve. If it's something like infertility, I'm not guaranteeing it.
What are other proteins and would you recommend, or even cholesterol, would you recommend instead for our vegan friends?
Well, there's no vegan cholesterol. There is no vegan cholesterol. The vegan part is a tough part.
I always say, like, if you could sport, like, just shift a little bit from your vegan box, is just to eliminate oil and cook with butter. Like, that's one thing that I will say.
Definitely. And I have a lot of sympathy for the vegan movement. I was vegan probably 10 years ago, close to 10 years ago. So I get it. But back then they were just bringing in the plant-based word, and plant-based did not yet mean vegan. It meant vegetarian, right? And I came from vegetarian. I only shifted into veganism for a girl, truthfully. I didn't do it for health reasons or anything like that. But the vegetarian is a far more lenient diet, right? Vegetarian gives you choice. It gives you choice to eat animal products based on your own ethical evaluation of it. Veganism is a pretty extreme political movement that I'm sorry to say that my stance in the conspiracy world leads me to believe that this movement, like many other movements, we're not getting political here, but the Black Lives Matter and the feminist movement, these things are controlled movements, funded for specific reasons, filled with mistruths, filled with truths too, right? And so if we've fallen into the vegan thing, we have to understand that is a campaign. The veganism is a campaign. It's a label that's been given to us.
I honestly don't think that we should be, I'm paleo, I'm vegan, I'm this, I'm that. It should be, I eat health consciously and everything in moderation.
Totally. And real food. And eating a ton of plants, always going to be a good thing. This is
For
why I
sure.
never liked them using that name, because plant-based to me sounds like eat a bunch of plants, mostly,
Yeah.
right?
They have the phytochemicals in them to like eliminate toxins and stuff out of our bodies. So,
And so that's totally great. But these
and
other things can be phenomenal. We have really poor long-term data on veganism. I mean, again, for you to know, like, I really try not to get into it with vegans, especially if they're my friends. There's some people I really love and they're vegan. I don't want to get into it. If they
yeah,
do better vegan, awesome. Totally, totally awesome. Am I foreseeing problems in the future? Yes. Am I foreseeing the future impossibility of conception, proper pregnancy? That's what I foresee as its biggest problem, right? Connective tissue problems. I believe you can support your connective tissue a lot with plants, right? Can you get
yeah,
actual connective tissue itself? No. But are you going to fall apart right away? No, either, right? So it's
yeah. So connective tissues comes from meat,
animals.
right? Animals.
Animals.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, um, I know, and based on your blood type, right? Like some people, like, is it O negative or is it O positive? I can't remember where they absolutely need red meat.
It's both O's. The negative positive doesn't matter for that.
Okay.
I'm O negative. I suffered tremendously under veganism. When I
Yeah,
was,
I did too. I'm the same.
and you're O
Yeah,
as well.
I would just pass out. Yeah. I
So,
would just like pass out and then I would have a steak and I would be fine.
so Dr. Wallach doesn't like going too much into the blood type, but definitely it's worth being aware that if you're an A or a B, you have a way better, easier time on a plant-based, largely plant-based diet than someone
Right.
else. For me, I failed horribly. I pretty much only crave animal products and sometimes some greens, and I've learned to crave the nutrients, individual nutrients. But I don't eat very much food in general, and there's just so much misinformation. That's why I don't like getting into it, because it can be so complicated. And Randy, the problem is that the people who are going to have a problem with eggs, those are well researched, conscientious, caring people. Those people did their homework. Those people care about this. That's why they looked into it. That's also why I don't want to argue with them, right?
Yeah.
Our bread and butter in this business is desperate people with diseases who want help, desperate civilians with diseases who want help, by the way,
Yeah,
and
for
who
sure.
aren't going to argue about whatever ascorbic acid and all kinds of things. So they'll say, okay,
Right.
fine, I'll just take it, right? And they just make it simple. It's the over research that are the most difficult. And
Yeah.
if we love those people, it's still our duty to influence them. So just knowing how to weave around these things is best, right? Someone comes with a problem about eggs, hey, no problem, right? Continue to build the trust, continue to build the relationship, continue to help them any way that you can. It's not a game changer if they don't eat eggs, especially not in the short term. I don't expect that to be their biggest single variable. Avoiding the bad foods is going to be far more important. Getting the nutrients into them is going to be far more important. And when we do that, we now have a long-term footing with them, right? So I
Yeah.
always keep that in mind with anything. And this goes to, again, for any ingredient problems, the most conscientious, smartest people will have the most problems, the most nitpicky little problems. And so
Right.
just not worry about it.
Sure.
You know, same thing. If they had that
Um,
problem with the ascorbic acid, hey, it's totally great. I totally understand your concern. You know, from our perspective, it's not a concern because of this and this. And, you know, we are proposing that you will feel better with these products, kind of thing, right? So it always circles back to that, you know, whatever you think about eggs, you're going to feel better the more advice of ours that you take. So focus on
right.
what they are willing to do, and let's do that.
Okay. So also for vegans, since we're on that, why can you just explain why the soy is bad for us and how our body reacts?
Yeah.
Just so-
I just wrote down soy. Let me circle back to the blood type for a second. Dr. Wallach
Okay.
doesn't like talking about the blood type because he doesn't care, right? From our perspective, it will not be the thing that changes your life. It will help you to
Yeah.
optimize. If you're O blood type and you're trying to be vegan, you're going to have a harder
Forget,
time. I do know at least one.
forget it. I tried.
Yeah. Well, I
It
know at
didn't
least
work.
one that's gone over 2 years. My personal opinion is that her moral fortitude is what's kept her going, if that makes sense. And you can
Yeah.
just see how they act. Like they just eat way too much food. They're not, the craving's not turning off, and they're telling themselves that they're feeling good on it. By the way, I hope I'm not offending any vegan. I really don't. you know, both you and I have a mutual friend it's vegan. I have some excellent people that I know that I truly do love and respect with all my heart that are vegan. It's their choice not to eat animal products, but it can be a huge conversation, and it definitely is one that you want to stay away from as much as humanly possible,
For sure.
and focus on what you do agree upon. Right, with our mutual friend, we can hang out, we can eat together, no problem. She knows how I feel, I know how she feels, but we're gonna be talking mostly and working mostly around the things that we do agree upon, which is the 90 essential nutrients, avoiding gluten, right? So if we can agree on 95, I'm stoked about that. And a lot of people will just totally get caught up in that 1%, 5%, 10% that your prospect, your friend, your mom has a problem with. Forget about that. You have all the time in the world to work on that.
Right.
Okay, so soy. So
soy.
If you're replacing food with soy products, in my opinion, that's bad. So if you're replacing meat with soy-based meat, bad. By the way, it's going to have gluten in it, probably. Check the label. These vegan meat replacements and stuff almost always have gluten, right? TVP, texturized vegetable protein, is usually one of the main ingredients. It has gluten in it. So that's number one. It's not usually just soy. It's soy and a bunch of other crap. And they dress it up and they make it sound like, you know, if you eat these tofu things, then you're an environmentally conscious, aka smart, responsible person, right? They're trying to make you feel good about doing these things. Meanwhile, this is marketing. These soy products are crap for the most part. Does not mean soy is bad, right? Japanese is the longest living culture in the Western world. They eat plenty of soy, but they're not eating this texturized vegetable protein garbage. You know, they're not eating these fake meats and stuff like that. They're eating tofu from real soy, non-GMO kind of thing. And obviously they're getting a bunch of other nutrients in their diet to balance things out. And it's not just the soy that's giving them any specific massive benefit. I don't like soy on our market because I do believe it contributes to hormone problems. Again, when the Japanese are doing it and they're doing everything else that they do, like consume a ton of salt, consume a ton of sea products, you know, low calorie in general, they're going to be in a better condition to deal with that. In our Western world, if you got any hormone problem, in my opinion, I would get off soy. If you're going to have sushi, you can have gluten-free soy sauce. You can ask them, even the cheapest buffet style sushi in America, most of them are going to have a gluten-free soy sauce there, but you have to ask for it. If you just use that, it's not going to kill you, was my main point. That's what I said on the call earlier too. So just, you got to pick things out. If you're using like the fermented soy or whatever, there's some soy things that you can use that are totally fine. If you go for organic, you're going to be better. But if you're actually making meals out of soy, bad. If you're replacing real whole food ingredients with soy, bad. You know, especially if you're replacing meat, just get over it and eat the meat. Truly, that's actually what it comes down to. It's a craving that you just need to stop lying to yourself about. And I can say this because I've had the privilege of being with several vegans when they had their first piece of meat. Because when we're in this conscious world, you know, you and I, we're going to be hanging out with some type of new age people, man. They're woke people, right? So when you're in that group, you are made to feel like a bad person if you're not vegan, right? You're made to feel that like, oh, you are supporting the monster, the man, and the system, and the, you know, the slaughtering of animals, and the, you know, you're personally morally responsible for this, and this is part of the reason why we're pressured into going vegan in the first place.
And that's why I support the local farms. Like there are other ways of getting meat without going to the grocery store, you know.
Totally. There's other ways of getting eggs than from a
powered crowd and what all that. So
so
I think
when they're able to break it, in my opinion, in the experience that I'm grateful with of being with people when they've woken up from veganism and had that bite of a steak, and you watch them just go, oh, with pleasure, you know, and their brains buzzing and stuff, like, this is your body talking to you. You absolutely need to listen to it. If you eat meat and you feel good, it's not an illusion. And that often, by the way, is enough to break the spell for people. And it's not a spell. It's like we went into this because we are conscious, caring people, right? I stopped eating meat because I read Food Inc. or I watched the documentary or something. Food Inc. scared me, made me feel like a bad person for doing this, made me feel like this was the right thing that I should do. And so for me, I've been able to give people permission, and it's not like I have any authority, but like, give them like, yo, it's okay if you eat meat. I'm not gonna judge you. I eat meat too. I understand. I was a vegan. I get it. Lots of us have crossed back over and realized we're omnivores. Just like
Yeah,
they said we're omnivores.
we
Wow.
are.
Right?
And also,
Pick
if
your
you're
ratio.
supplementing B12, that's an animal byproduct anyway. So you can't really even be a pure vegan either way.
And this is where the vegan, it starts to get crazy, right? When you start to talk about honey and unfertilized eggs and silk, like, stop it. This is what I start saying. Stop it. B12 is produced by bacteria, okay? It's animal product. Is it? Oh man, stop. This is what we have to say, right? Same with probiotics and whatever. Like, we have a biome that we're part of. I don't know where you're going to draw the line. You're going to have a hard time drawing the line. I can't even really draw a line between the animal and the microbial world, since we're dependent on the microbial world. There's more microbial cells inside of us than our animal cells. So at what point do you draw the line? Forget the line, is my point. Right? You pick your ratio. Do you like more plants? Do you like more animals? You should know this. Once you purge out all the fake foods and all the processed foods and all the additives, you will pretty easily be able to sort out your optimal ratio of, again, meat to produce, but also of carbs to fat to protein. These are your macronutrient ratios. That's totally important in your optimization. Means nothing to us in the starting protocols, though, basically.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking notes.
And by the way, Dr. Wallach did record one CD a long time ago called The Secret Lives of Vegetarians with I'm trying to remember his name, Dirk Twine, I think, who is a pretty well-known vegan. I don't know if I can call him vegan. I'm not sure if he supplements with cholesterol, which is, again, these lines are just stupid. But anyway, he's a plant-based athlete, and so they recorded that. It's worth listening to. It's probably on YouTube, The Secret Lives of Vegetarians. Because Dr. Wallach's point has come down to, just like the blood types, like, yeah, I don't care what blood type you are. You need the 90 essential nutrients. You need to avoid the bad foods next, right? But Dr. Wallach would be like, okay, this specific product for this specific support, like circulation, whatever, and then it's next. But it's a more or less, that's it. We just don't care anymore. He'll say the same thing about vegetarian, vegan, because we just don't want to get into it. He'll say you can be a healthy vegetarian, vegan, as long as you supplement with the 90 essential nutrients. And this is the fact, as far as we can tell. You're better off being a vegan that supplements than a omnivore who also happens to eat French fries now and then, right? The now and then French fries is more likely to kill you than living plant-based. Just be aware that plant-based people, they lean heavily on grains, which they shouldn't. Even the quinoa, right? Gluten-free. You want to be gluten-free all the way. When you take gluten and oil away from veganism, it was really, 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 really tough, right? We are outlawing gluten and oil. So it's one thing for us to say, look, I don't care what you eat as long as you don't eat the bad foods. But if you're a vegan, you're going to be eating largely grains and oils. And I personally, I don't eat in vegan restaurants. We go out to eat at them sometime, and I don't know why. I think maybe there's going to be something that I could eat in there, and I can't, because every single thing on the menu in every single vegan restaurant that I've ever been to, in the hippest places in the world, right? Colorado's it's got to be on the list for the hippest places in the world, and they're pretty up to par in terms of their knowledge. And every single thing on their menu is going to contain oil in it, because they can't cook vegan food without oil, really. And not that you can't, but like, you can bake a baked potato and put nothing on it, put salt and pepper and spices on it. They're not going to serve that at a restaurant. It's not a restaurant meal. It's super freaking bland. But anything without oil, a vegan meal without oil is a salad, right? So unless you're just eating a salad, it's not a meal.
Oil oxidizes the nutrients anyway, right? So
yeah, and that's why it's on the list. And so the vegans are going to be leaning on the salad dressings and the margarines, and these are horrible, right? So take that away from a vegan, not much fun being a vegan. If you can eat all fruits,
and you're hungry all the time,
and be hungry all the time. If you can live off fruits, go ahead, right? But it's very limited, very, very limited, for no real reason, because like you said, all you got to do is add butter and now you can cook again.
Yeah, exactly.
Add an egg and now you can things hold together again. Add
have some protein, feel full. Yeah,
basically add the minerals in as well. Just because it's organic doesn't mean it has minerals in it, kind of thing, right? That's what the body's going to be craving for.
Exactly. So that's because of the dams, right?
So these things we hope to influence vegans on, because at the end of the day, veganism is a moral choice that, to me, we should celebrate. To me, we should be proud of the people who are willing to sacrifice things in their life for the greater good. That's absolutely what this is. They want
Yeah.
to promote animal welfare. They want to promote health, a lot of them, but they've
Yeah.
mostly been twisted in. They've mostly been pulled in from the environmentalist, social justice worlds, and then
Right.
they've been told that, oh, and so we're saving the animals, but it's also healthy, and then they've made a case around that. But
Right.
it's only partially true, and that's why it's so confusing, and that's also why we don't want to get into arguments with people, because there's so much information that is true and false and just so confusing. You started off with eggs. This is why people all the time too, by the way, they'll be like, can you provide some peer-reviewed articles to support this? And I just say no, because they're going to be able to find peer-reviewed sources that are going to tell you eggs are bad too. So I don't want to just trade papers. That's not useful. What we want to do is say, look, we're promoting things to help people get better. They don't have to do all of them, but we're recommending that they do. And that's it. That's really it, right? Rather than doing the argument. And it allows to just kind of, again, maintain the rope. The rope that they threw us was, hey, we're coming to you for help, right? So if they throw you the rope and then they say, but I'll never eat butter. Some people just, I will never eat an animal product. And rather than reacting to that, I'll just keep sliding on by, right? Chances are they came to me with a digestive problem or something. Like, okay, let's focus there. And hopefully they come back in 2 weeks and they're one of those people that says, I can't thank you enough. I feel so amazing. I tried the salt. Now I got leverage. Now they are more likely to loosen up about some other things. And by the way, too, I do not mean to be rude at all, but if you're undernourished in any way, and your vegan diet could be giving you the brain fog, especially if it's full of gluten and whatever. As soon as we start to help you a little bit, you start to feel a little bit better. That also, to me, means thinking clearer. It means that if you're in stomach pain, you're thinking about your stomach pain. I need to shut your stomach up so I can actually give you more information. So if we can help somebody feel better, chances are they will think clearer about the entire thing. Chances are they will feel better and more comfortable with even admitting that they, might not be enjoying the vegan lifestyle as much as it's promoted, or as much as they feel that they're supposed to, right?
Right.
And whatever, allow them to be more comfortable sliding into other choices, other changes. So let's move on to the next question.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. My roommate put on the Bluetooth upstairs and they're down there. Okay, cool. Well, the other thing that I want to talk about is peptides. What do you think of peptides?
Collagen peptides?
Huh?
Collagen peptides?
Just like, all of them.
Well, you're going to find...
I mean, collagen's the only way you can get collagen in the body is like through ingesting it, right? I mean, like stuff that makeup products and stuff like that, collagen's, those cells are too big to be absorbed through your skin, as far as I know. But yeah, just like peptides in the stomach, like, I don't know, like the chain amino acids and stuff like that. Like I know you can get a prescription for them, like through an MD.
You can get them in food too.
Are they?
It's a bit of a scam, Randy. It's a bit of a scam.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah. So I come from the gym world. I was into the bodybuilding and stuff by default because I worked there and I got jacked up. And I felt behind the desk, and most of us felt, we were selling the products. We weren't there to sell products. They're just there for sale. If people had asked, they would say, do we need pre-workout? Do we need creatine? We're going to be like, nah. And they're going to be like, well, yeah, but I want to get... And we'd be like, look at us, man. Like, we're in great shape. We're not using this stuff. Seriously. And BCAAs...
You need more energy by stop eating the gluten and the stuff that's dragging you down.
Well, even back then, I didn't know about any of that stuff. But, like, to get jacked up, I just knew that you did not need pre-workout. You don't need glutamine. You don't need creatine. You definitely don't need BCAAs. BCAAs are a very, very new marketing thing. So they came out actually, like, after... my time in the gym. And that's just why it's interesting. So you see a bunch of hype like, oh, we need BCAAs to work out. And like, starting now? Really? Like, because again, we've been in the gym world. We didn't need BCAAs 10 years ago. Why? Just because they came up with a marketing platform for them. Now I need them. That doesn't make sense. We needed the 90 essential nutrients before, by the way. Our presentation goes into fill in the gaps of why we have arthritis and diabetes and cancer and all these problems. We're teaching people that these are actually nutrient deficiencies. BCAA deficiency doesn't exist, in my opinion, unless you're vegan, by the way, right? But like these are compounds that are in food. Supplement them with them is not necessary. You've been played. That's the answer, right?
Okay, not necessary.
Not
Cool.
necessary, and a huge waste of money, man. Like pre-workout and protein powders and all this stuff. Like a lot of people that we're talking to are already spending $80, $100 a month on this crap. And I say crap because a lot of it is crap. A lot of it you read the
So
label.
even the collagen's not good for like your skin as far as like your skin goes?
Well, your skin's made of collagen. Most of the weight of the body is connective tissue and muscle tissue. First of all, outweighs your skeleton, outweighs everything.
So collagen peptides aren't like supplementing those aren't really necessary. Just eat more connective tissue.
Different story. So they are. It's necessary for the most part to supplement with connective tissue. That could mean collagen peptides. That could mean gelatin itself. That could mean glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, any of the sulfur. Those are all sulfur compounds. Any of the sulfur compounds that are known to affect joint health. Those are all the raw constituent components of what we know is the shorthand of connective tissue. And it makes up these huge webs in the body. Why you would want to supplement with collagen peptides is because in the Western world, if you are not consuming connective tissue every day, you should supplement with it. If you're not consuming bone soup every day, like in the wild environment, your grandma or your great grandma or whatever is going to have a big pot on all the time, 24/7, never stops boiling. In the peasant wild environment that we live a long time in, that we thrive in, that we manage to get our nutrients in. We don't know how we do it, but we know how. They don't know how that they're doing it. Their stove is burning 24/7, summer, winter, fall, 365 days a year. Their stove is burning all of the time. On top of that stove is a boiling pot of water. That boiling pot of water has kitchen scraps in it, right? I'm talking about onion peels and carrot ends and bones. So this is bone soup. The only difference between a soup and a stew, by the way, is stew is thickened. Usually you're going to throw other stuff in the stew. Throw some actual carrots and meat in there on top of the broth, the soup itself, makes it a stew. Then they'll also take those bones out of the soup and break them down. Once they've been leached out so they're kind of soft, mash them up in a bone meal. Put them in the garden, put them in the breads. Right,
and that's where we get our minerals through the food. But
that's how we fortified our foods. People say, why is bread different than it used to be? Well, number one, the protein itself is different because we've bred it to have more of the protein. The protein is the gluten, so there's more gluten in the wheat now. Number two, the way they used to make bread is they used to use ash and bone as a thickener for pretty much everything: soups, stews, breads, puddings, meatloafs. It was used as a condiment and as a thickener. This is both bone meal and salt and wood ash. Wood ash and bone meal could be used to cut salt traditionally. Often 10 times or more of wood ash to one part of salt because salt was so valuable. These are how they got their nutrients. They also irrigated their fields with mineral-rich waters from somewhere. That's luck of the draw on location-wise, but these other habits gave them the bulk of their nutrients. So why supplement with peptides? Because you're probably not consuming bone soup every day, right? And that's the fact. That's the difference maker in the peasant lifestyle when it comes to bone and joint health. We solved bone and joint problems in animals over 1,000 years ago in China by feeding them bones and joints. 500 years ago, they solved the problem in Europe, same way. It took them 500 more years to figure it out, according to our history. And then in the last century, in the 20th century, human beings spent $100 billion, according to Dr. Welk. He said he did the math. They spent $100 billion figuring out just calcium and its cofactors in animal foods. $100 billion just figuring out calcium and its cofactors in animal foods. I've misspoken on that number, by the way. I believe I spoke publicly, and I think I said millions of dollars, or sorry, $1 billion, but it's $100 billion. It's a lot of money. So we spent that basically just to figure out that we need to give livestock the equivalent of bones and joints if they're going to have healthy bones and joints. That's it, right? So it needs to be factored in.
Feeds connective tissue.
That feeds into the vegan thing, by the way. If you hadn't seen it, I made a video recently about longevity of animals. I put that on the YouTube page for theRealNotus, and I shared it on the Wallach Warrior Instagram page on IGTV. It didn't get much play because I also posted the What Kills Billionaire videos at the same time. But in the animal video, I made the point that people have a misconception about animals. Veganism is particularly just riddled with these weird comparisons to animals. And so I do cover the cow there because it's often said that, like, well, a cow doesn't need to eat grass and it just does fine. Look at that bull. There's an 800-pound healthy bull there. It just eats grass. Okay, well,
Well, actually, we do. I worked on a ranch, and we could do salt lick tubs, and they're just full of minerals and salt, and they just,
and
you
you
can't make.
probably also feed them pellets as well, right? The alfalfa pellets contain more nutrients, even more. If they, and we even boost them too. The farmer's going to boost them if they're pregnant or anything like that. And they're going to give them selenium shots, etc. So we do supplement animals. Your animals will not thrive without them. It doesn't matter whether it's a pet or a cow, right? All these so-called vegan animals, they do require supplementation or they will fall apart. You can't just leave a cow to pasture. It will wither away and die. So peptides, the cow is going to need to find the connective tissue too. They'll eat bones and stuff, but we should supplement with it if we're not eating it full time. And
They eat the connective after birth too, the connective tissue after they have their babies.
yeah.
It's just a primal animal instinct. It's full of nutrients. Yeah.
And that's another interesting one. So the original protocol, by the way, I'll move on from this after this. The original protocol of Dr. Wallach's was plant-derived minerals, liquid form. Then you were instructed to go to the grocery store and buy Knox gelatin, and you'd be taking 1 package of Knox gelatin per 100 pounds of body weight per day. And then you'd be instructed to go and get calcium-enriched Minute Maid orange juice. This is all we had. So you buy a bottle of minerals from us, and then you're instructed to go get orange juice, calcium enriched, and gelatin. Gelatin's not cost effective. Some people have a moral problem with it, the way that it's produced, and you start going to the organic, grass-fed, whatever, it starts to get astronomically expensive. Even cheap gelatin, it's not cost effective to do it that way, in my opinion. I don't want to add it up. I think it's here in Canada, it was like $2.29 a sachet per day. $2.29 per 100 pounds per day, that's too much for me. That adds up too much just for connective tissue. So I supplement with these things. We also eat bone soup 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 times a week. So that says a lot, right? People are like, well, why do I need to supplement with collagen peptides? Because it's a lot easier than if you're not living out of your kitchen, if you don't have these table scraps being produced, if you're not using bones, like, you have to supplement with them. And even if you're using bones, you still should supplement with them. Because again, we're just not doing it all day, every day. One of the tricks that those primitive people do is they get their proper nutrient ratios by consuming the whole animal. When you eat meat, you increase your need for minerals. So if you just eat meat, you're going to get increased nutrient mineral deficiency problems, possibly diseases. That comes into, like, you got to know your stuff, because the vegans are half right. And this is why it's good to just kind of back away from it if you don't know your stuff, and just focus on what we can do, because they are correct. If you're just eating meat, especially if you eat organ meat, you so dramatically increase your need for minerals that you will actually create depletion problems, deficiency problems, if you're only consuming meat. If you feed your dog meat, it will get diseases, right? Sounds counterintuitive. Dog eats meat, doesn't it? Well, the dog food has a nutrient balance in it. It's got minerals, it's got vitamins, it's got omegas in it. That balances the meat that's physically in it. When we eat the whole animal, that ratio magically evens out. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Nature has already presented us with the perfect nutrient ratios, but you only get it if you leach the nutrients out of the bones, if you grind the bones up, if you eat the organs, right? If you use the whole animal, you will get the exact nutrient ratios that you need. But still, even with saying that, it doesn't mean you can just go buy a lamb and just eat the whole lamb and you're going to get all your nutrients. Remember, the people who actually do this, they have that wood stove going 24/7, 365. They've got 5 pounds of wood ashes per stove per day being produced. 5 pounds of raw material is a lot of material. That material goes into the garden. Some of it, the fine white ash, makes its way into the diet by cutting salt, by using it as a thickener. And by the way, another common trait of a lot of these long-lived people is they have these big, giant compost heaps around their villages and stuff. Those compost heaps are going to contain some table scraps, but they're going to contain a lot of wood ash, potentially manure, human or animal. Right? These are big, giant compost, essentially artificial soil piles being created. And this creates a much healthier soil environment that they are growing their food in. Those soils are irrigated. This whole story is why we need to supplement. the real answer is, why do I need to take collagen peptides? Because you're not a peasant eating bones. You know, why do I need to supplement with the 90 essential nutrients? Because we're not irrigating our fields. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
We dammed all the rivers.
Yeah, there's no more irrigation. We wanted flood control. We wanted electricity, and we wanted no more floods. We got no more floods. We got dead fields. And now we have to use fertilizers. We don't have to, but we have major problems with this whole thing. So the answer for the human being right now, especially, supplement. In the future, probably still going to be the same answer. We're probably just going to need actually a little bit less supplementation if we do the food system better.
Right. Hydroponic farms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. How do you feel about the locust outbreak?
I'm a little bit out of the loop, truthfully. I'm way up in northern Canada. I'm trying so hard to ignore all the news in the world. Like,
Yeah.
all I know is that the border is still closed for Americans flying here, or for me driving to America. Interestingly, I'm allowed to fly. I just don't want to while this whole nonsense is going on. But as long as it's not news telling me that the border is open, I want to stay away from it, truthfully. So I don't know what's up with the locusts. I hope it's not the end of times, you know. But locusts are pretty common. And in the conspiracy world, every now and then there's locust plagues. And every now and then they're calling for revelation, you know. So again, I just try and ignore it. Locusts happen. It's not the end of the world, in my opinion.
I don't either. They just said it was the worst one in 70 years. But I tell my friends and my family and, you know, everyone that I know, I'm like, just garden, just do your own thing, be self-sustaining. You know what you're putting in your, you know, garden. So.
And hopefully the locusts don't take your garden. You might need to cover it up if there's a locust plague, but you can do that.
Right.
You can cover your crops.
Do a greenhouse, cover it up. I don't know, but as long as you know your food's not going to be covered in pesticides that way, at least, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So
I hope this made an important point, and a kind of an ultimate point at the core of a lot of these things is we don't need to convince anybody 100%. We don't need to align 100%. We need to get started. And if they have a problem, either we can sort that problem out directly. So sometimes it's just not true, you know.
How much mineral salt do you recommend in a day?
You mean, are you talking about just natural salt?
Uh-huh.
The Japanese consume roughly 1 salt shaker per person per day.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've repeated several things on this call that I did on the last call. And if we keep going with this, like I keep recording more of these, people are going to hear the same things kind of over and over. So a salt shaker per person per day, it's an unbelievable amount of salt that we actually need. And what I said in the last call is that if we're eating junk food all the time, we're eating a lot of salt. It's in the food. If we're eating whole food.
But the wrong kind of salt, right?
Well, sure. And it's crap. It's bad anyways. But the point is, if you're eating a junk food diet, you're getting salt. And the reason you're eating all that junk food is because you're addicted to the salt, personally. So
right. Yeah.
If you
instead of chips, do cucumbers with pink Himalayan salt.
Yeah, even just a glass of water, anything. But if you switch to a whole food diet, it's very unlikely that instinctively you're going to add enough salt. It's part of the reason we teach people to do the salt flush, so that they can become extremely sensitive to it. Because it shouldn't be exactly a salt shaker per day. It should change if you go out and work in the sun. It should change. Your needs will increase a lot. So how much should you need? You need to teach yourself to become sensitive. Start with a salt flush. It's the first thing that you can do to become sensitive. And adding salt to your food until you can taste the salt. A lot of people just don't make it there. You're going to suffer with long-term indigestion and long-term deficiency accumulation from this. Is chronic undersalting. And again, good food, whole food. Unless you're only eating fruits, you need salt to digest it. So it can be one major missing piece, and we need more than we think is the real answer.
Okay. Cool. So back to the peptides. Yes, do peptides if you're not eating enough meat. And how much?
No, not meat. If you're not eating bones. Bones.
Yeah.
People are eating too much meat, in my opinion, by the way. I agree with that in the vegan campaign. We're eating way too much meat, not enough bones, not enough organs, not enough plants.
Meat should only be like, people are eating meat 3 times a day with every meal. It should only be, 1 time a day, if that?
Yeah, way too much.
As long as it's like red, undercooked meat, like medium rare to rare steak.
It could be white meat too. Yeah, it could be fish. It doesn't matter. It's just quantity. It's not being, if the more meat you eat, the more of those other nutrients you need. So if you eat a whole bunch of meat, you need a whole bunch of connective tissue, a whole bunch of minerals, a whole bunch of salt to compensate for that. By the way, we need a ton of salt to digest meat. A lot of stomach problems in the healthy people that I speak to, a lot of stomach problems were caused just by salt because they were cured by salt. It means
Right.
they're eating meat, not knowing how much salt needs to actually go on that. So
Yeah.
meat
Okay.
is not the problem. You said how many times? We personally, we eat one meal a day. We cook and eat one meal a day. If anything, there's nothing really to snack on, like days, right? So it's one meal, and about
Mhm.
4 or 5 days of the week, there's going to be a meat component of that. Now,
Yeah.
people are following our food page at Notus Foods, spelled not us foods. You can see that we're eating pretty big plates. We eat pretty big plates of food, but it's only once. It's not actually that many food. I believe I'm under the calorie range that I'm looking for, and there's not that much meat on it, just quite honestly. So we don't eat that much, and we're fully grown males. We don't need to eat meat 3 times a day. We don't need to eat it every day, and we like to do a couple of days that are just eggs, where egg is the primary component of the meal rather than a meat.
Yeah.
And you're talking about being satisfied earlier. The reason we do either meat or eggs is because there's no other way to satisfy us. It's not going to happen.
Okay. Sweet. Any other questions I have? I guess if you want, I know we're like going a while here, but if you want to like, I know you sent me some stuff about like dirty blood, but maybe you could just like go over it with me one more time. Like, yeah,
Dirty
like,
blood's one of those cornerstone things that if somebody understands it, it took me a long time to understand dirty blood. If they understand dirty blood, they're going to understand the origins of most of the problems that people come to us with. So dirty blood is anything in the blood that's not supposed to be there. So you can get that if
alcohol, coffee.
it's more likely to be a food protein, food particle.
Okay.
Alcohol,
That's
sorry,
not broken down, goes back to your hydrochloric acid, right?
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's going to dehydrate you, and it's going to cause other problems as well. It's going to cause low level
Bad circulation.
low level toxicity and inflammation could lead to a circulation problem. By the way, the circulation problem from alcohol, this would be via the pathway of a blood sugar problem. And in my opinion, a circulation problem is pretty much always going to follow a blood sugar problem. They do kind of go hand in hand.
Hmm.
I say probably because I don't think we can really prove that, but I think that's part of it. So you can get undigested food particles in your blood if you do any one of the following. Not enough stomach acid means not enough salt, and there could be some other components in there as well. You might need digestive enzymes to. If somebody has a dirty blood problem, digestive enzymes are always going to be a good idea. I made up a digestive pack recently with 4 products to address this because I want to start more people on that, get their digestive system working correctly first, because if they have a dirty blood problem, I really want to fix that first. This doesn't really have to do with the 90 essential nutrients. This has to do with not getting undigested food particles into the blood. So making sure the stomach's acidic enough, using salt, using digestive enzymes in the short term, it's going to help that a lot. If there's a bile problem, it's the next stage
Hmm.
of digestion. Food gets broken down in the stomach. You talk about amino acids and proteins. All of these proteins are supposed to be broken down in the stomach. Part of the reason why gluten's a problem is because it doesn't get broken down all the way in the stomach. And so it goes into the intestines undigested, causes damage in the villi because the proteins are supposed to be broken down into the individual amino acids so they can be absorbed in the intestine. If that doesn't
Right.
happen, you got a problem. If it goes into the next stage and say you've digested it properly, but you have a liver problem, you have a bile duct problem, and the bile that is supposed to meet with the broken down acidified food from the stomach, it's supposed to meet with the bile. The bile, this is part of enzyme products, by the way. Our enzymes contain not just digestive enzymes, but also bile or bile salts or ox biles, how it can appear on the label. It also contains betaine hydrochloride, which is also going to help acidify the stomach. So you get a triple whammy when you take a good enzyme product. You do get the digestive enzymes, which your body needs to break down these things anyways. If you have a deficiency in enzymes, you can't break down the proteins and the whatever, right? The lactose is a good example, right? If you're not producing lactase, you need to take the enzyme lactase so that you can absorb that and you no longer have a problem. It's like bam, magic, right? It can be the
Yeah.
same thing. If you're underproducing enzymes, and this is overly complicated. I'm telling you this because you're a practitioner. There's multiple levels where things can go wrong. We don't necessarily need to address any one of them. This is why we address all of them. We assume any one of these problems could be in place, and we're not gambling on which one it can be. But if you're not producing enough enzymes, you can't break down those things. If you're not producing enough bile, that is not going to be converting this internal environment to alkaline. That's what it does. It converts the highly acidic particles coming through from the stomach to alkaline so that they can be absorbed in an alkaline environment. That's what the bile does. That could be low. Could be a liver problem. They could have their gallbladder removed, and then we need to they need those enzymes because they're not producing them. They're not releasing that bile. We need those bile salts there to facilitate digestion. So gluten can cause this dirty blood problem itself. Like we mentioned, gluten going through the stomach, making its way into the intestine undigested, causing inflammation in the intestine. So causing those villi to inflame physically, breaking and damaging those intestines physically because the protein hasn't been broken down, turning long-term, turning this into scar tissue and preventing absorption, maximum interference with digestion. Any one of these things can contribute to dirty blood. Any one of these things that means proteins are not being broken down fully and absorbed fully means those proteins can find their way into their blood. The more damage you have in your intestine, especially long-term, you're going to get holes forming in it. There's food particles and such going through the holes in the villi, holes in the intestinal wall, rather than going through the villi as they're supposed to.
And that's challenging for your immune system too.
And by the way, I just recorded last week with Ben Fuchs' podcast. It was kind of misdirected in my opinion, and I can't be too hard on myself because Ben's really good at going on, which is great. I love it. I love the outpour of information, but it's not like I could say, hey, check this podcast with Ben because we just talk about this one thing. No, we talk about a whole bunch of things. But in it, he gave a good explanation of dirty blood as well, and I asked him to. And part of it is the immune response. So once these particles get into your blood, your immune system attacks it. Think about mucus. There's all this hype about mucus saying that mucus causes disease. It's not true. Mucus is the result of a disease. If the mucus or phlegm, if it has any color in it, that color is the dead bodies of your immune cells and the pathogens, right?
That the lymphatics grabbed, right, and pulled out the white blood cells. Yeah.
So imagine this swamp, of activity happening in the blood, and so you got food particles. Like picture you're sick and you're sneezing snot, green, blue mucus into it. Picture that happening in your blood, right? That mucus, that colored mucus, that grossness, that's the battlefield. That's the billions and trillions of corpses of your immune cells and the cells that they're fighting, and that's the bodies of them. Imagine that in your blood. Imagine food particles getting into your blood, your body doing what it's supposed to do, attack those particles, right? Isolate them, form mucus barriers around them, bring in the T cells, all these kind of things.
Right.
And now your blood's got goop in it. Right now your blood's full of immune bodies and stuff like this. This is what we call dirty blood, sticky blood. This is how it happens. Anything getting into the blood, your body correctly mounting its resistance to those particles in the blood. And this is what can create a false allergy situation too. I mentioned earlier, people come in, they say, I can't handle melons. I can't handle apples. Like whatever. It is most of these weird fruits. It's because their body is at one point, this is my opinion of it, their body's at one point gotten these proteins into the blood, mounted a defense against them, and now they're recognizing them as a threat. Once you clear out the digestive system, reset it, as we call it, even though it's an ill-defined thing. It's what I call it. It's not like you just hit the button and reset it, but fix the digestion. Chances are in 90 days, all those things are going to go away. Your body will no longer mount a response to those. And my theory on that is because they're no longer getting into the blood. So your body's not reacting to anything. Your body's actually breaking down everything properly, digesting it properly, no longer getting an inflammatory response to it.
Exactly. Okay. I got all that. Did you say that can lead to having acne, especially like back acne?
Yeah. So
from having dirty blood.
The dirty blood and blood sugar problem too, by the way, for technical reasons I'm not going to get into, but they both will produce a circulation problem. With the dirty blood phenomenon, you can just picture it, right? How is it going to change if you're pushing water through a hose? Well, what if now you're pushing Jello through a hose? It's just going to act differently. right? What
Right.
happens when your blood becomes all thick because it's got all this immune activity going into it? It's going to affect circulation. You got more
For sure.
particulate matter in there. You got more chance of accumulation inside the artery walls and stuff like this, right? Not only is your body distracted with mounting its immune defenses, it's not cleaning house. It's not doing. It's busy, right? It's like
Yeah.
when you picture Denny's 24-hour breakfast restaurant during a football game or something. It's slammed. Nobody's cleaning, right?
Yeah.
Denny's has to close once a year to clean the kitchen out. Similar situation. Your blood's busy fighting stuff. It's not going to be clearing out the other problems. It's going to be accumulating plaque and all this kind of stuff. And
that's why intermittent fasting is good.
Totally.
Right?
It's one of the reasons. And so, yeah, the dirty blood.
Your digestive system out for a little while.
Yes. Give your body a chance to clean house. Give your body a chance to push out toxins. Give your body a chance to not be busy digesting things. And so it can actually clean the rest and reset the rest and digest system. I mean, the resting is the key part of it. And resting from digesting itself is something that's really underappreciated. So if you have a dirty blood situation, you got sludgy blood, sticky blood, anything, any blood problem, blood cell problem, automatically you got a circulation problem just based on the viscosity of the liquid itself. You're supposed to be pumping around a liquid blood that's supposed to be at a very specific viscosity. It's supposed to be at a very specific pH, and it's supposed to have a very specific nutrient makeup. If you're low in your blood, you have a critical catastrophic deficiency kind of thing, right? So blood's supposed to be perfect. Any problem with it is going to cause major problems in the body. Dirty blood, circulation problem, acne is going to probably have something to do with this. It can just be deficiencies. More likely people with long-term acne especially, it's going to be a combination of bad foods, digestive problem, resulting blood sugar / circulation problem from the digestive problem. And if there is just an underlying deficiency, that's totally fine. Deficiency can just cause it itself. But more likely it's the food problems causing the deficiencies, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
So
that makes sense. Thank you so much.
You think this is good, Randy? You think this is a good amount of time for this?
Yeah. I mean, I have to get back to work. I have some clients I have scheduled, but yeah, I feel like this is an amazing training, and I definitely needed it and learned a lot, and I'm excited to pass it along to my clients.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you. It'll be posted really soon, and on my podcast land, Notus and Friends. It's on Spotify, and I believe all the other podcast places as well. And stuff like this I'm going to be posting on the Wallach Warriors YouTube page as well. Randy, are you publicly advertising how to find you? Is there a reason for people to reach out to you? Maybe they just want to follow you and be friends with you, connect with you, maybe people in the Colorado area?
Yeah, my company is called Ascending Moon Massage and Botanicals, and I'm out of Denver, Colorado.
By the way, if you haven't raised your prices yet, it's an incredibly good deal. But you should raise it a bit, for sure. It'll still be a good deal.
My clients keep telling me to raise my prices. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'll get right on that. So, but yeah, come see me. Hit me up. ascendingmoonmassage@gmail.com. Or check
You're
out
in Aurora?
My studio is in Lakewood, Colorado. It's right off of Wads and 6th Avenue there.
Cool. And it's a nice spot. And let me mention too, just to kind of promote that, massage therapy, above and beyond nutrition, above and beyond food, is so good for you. It's hard to overstate, truthfully.
Yeah. So 1 hour of just light massage, right? Just what we call a Swedish therapeutic massage. 1 hour of that moves more blood and lymphatic than your body does for itself in 24 hours, which means, I mean, if you don't know what your lymphatic system does, it tests it catches 1 in every 10 cells, and if it doesn't belong in your body, it takes it to the urinary system and gets it out of your body. So you're fighting disease and illness there. But that's just, an hour of light massage. Imagine like what we can do with the deep tissue that I specialize in, along with structural and trigger point therapy to give your body like the optimal usage out of your muscles. And yeah.
Huge list of benefits. The Physical
Yeah.
contact, I believe, is going to be part of the key to longevity. The massages, I don't think we have data on this, but I know a strong family structure and intimate family structure is very important in the primitive long-lived populations. I think massage is going to be so important for that. It's not just the physical releasing of things, but it's also the active engagement of the parasympathetic nervous system, the active engagement of the healing nervous system, which is the relaxation nervous system. Parasympathetic makes it sound complicated. It just means your body's not healing if it's not relaxed. If it's in fight or flight mode, it's not healing, it's not digesting, it's not relaxing. So,
Exactly.
has numerous benefits, and regular massages is got to be one of the keys to overall well-being, in my opinion. If that sounds over the head of some people, like, yeah, right, I'm not gonna have an extra whatever $500 a month for massages. You should increase your goals. My lifetime goals: get a massage every day if possible in the future.
Yeah, you will live until you're over 100 if you do so.
I believe it, and even if we don't, we'll live better.
There's been studies. Look it up.
Honestly, I believe it so much. I'm a huge believer in any of the physical therapeutics, not just massage, also acupuncture and even chiropractic and other physical manipulative things that do involve human contact. And there's a therapeutic value to the contact itself, I do believe. So we could talk a lot about that. But.
Yeah, I can go on for hours about massage.
And people should look into it. If you think it's all food and supplements, it's not.
It's not.
There's other things.
It's definitely not. So your body holds on to trauma, and it holds on to trauma in the fascia. The fascia compartmentalizes every single muscle in the body, every organ. It goes between the two sides of your brain. When you have a muscle knot or anywhere in your body, if you've ever had pain, maybe it's latent, which means it's asleep. Maybe it's barking at you. If you imagine wearing a giant sheet and you tie a knot in that sheet where that muscle knot is, you're going to see it pulling on all the other muscle groups. It could be pulling on your organs and causing deficient digestion or whatever it is. Also, your body doesn't get rid of toxins like adrenaline, which is your happy chemical, or your, I guess it's positive stress. And then your negative stressor would be cortisol. Your body doesn't get rid of that well. So that stuff's really hiding out in the bellies of your muscles and in between the fascia. And what I do is I eliminate that, right? So we want to get rid of that so that your body can be clean and refreshed and not holding on to that toxicity. So
if you're in the Denver area, hit Randy up. Do it. And Randy, I will see you soon enough when the borders open, and hopefully we can talk again soon. I appreciate you joining me here, and I hope the people listening got some value from it too.
Thank you, Ryan. We'll see you soon, bud.
Thank you, Randy. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.